to 06880, the podcast. If you think there are no more mom and pop shops on Main Street, you really need to get to Savvy and Grace. Annette Norton opened her shop. She's a mom, but Pop has his own career. In the heart of Main Street, just past Brooks Corner and across from what was then Oscar's in 2017. She grew up in Fairfield, but spent a ton of time down in Westport, downtown. Annette remembers Klein's, Remarkable Bookshop, Selective Eye, Onion Alley, with plenty of fondness. Since opening Savvy and Grace, which she calls a local department store, it's become the go-to store in town. Clothes, gifts, gift baskets, Westport merchandise. It's a really cool place, just crammed with stuff, and you've really created a welcoming, loving vibe. Annette loves Main Street, sponsored an outdoor crafters market. You hired sidewalk buskers, brought in a Christmas tree. You've run charity fundraisers. You name it, if it's fun, Annette, and if it helps draw a crowd, you'll do it. You're the one who makes it happen. So thank you for being on 06880, the podcast. So you didn't grow up in Westport, but you did spend a lot of time here. What are some of your earliest memories?
I remember not always wanting to shop. My mom would have to kind of bribe me to come downtown because she wanted to go. Even we got our kitchen table at the workbench. She would have to say to me, if you'll come with me, I'll let you go into Klein's and you can play with the markers. Or, if you'll come with me, I'll let you go into Remarkable and you can look at the books. So she would bribe me, or she'd say, we can go to Oscar's after for lunch. And then as I got older, then I liked coming downtown, Selective Eye and different things actually. Then I wanted to come downtown probably just as much as she did. So, and when I was a kid, Fairfield didn't have what it has today. It had the Fairfield department store, which was really kind of old folkish for a young person. And it had the community theater. So we even came to Westport for movies. So, and even my first disco, when Donna Summer was in her rage, they had a place on the Post Road. It was on the third floor of what I think is a law office now, and it was called Buchanan's, and you could go discoing the night away and get your, little Shirley Temples. So I did that too.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you really remember a lot of different things. It wasn't just shopping. It was sort of an experience.
Yes. Arnie's, when I was 16, going to Arnie's. My favorite restaurant was Rocco's. I met my husband at Peppermill.
Wow. You're an honorary Westporter, Annette.
Yeah.
It's one thing to want to open a store here,
right,
which you wanted to do, but it's another to actually do it. You had to find a space, you had to negotiate and rent downtown. How did you go about it? How did you, really decide to open Savvy and Grace?
It was actually Mother's Day weekend. I remember I actually wanted to come to Westport for Mother's Day. So I was with the family and we were walking down Main Street and I saw my space. It was vacant and it said Caldwell Banker had moved. There was no for lease sign, but it was such a cool space, and I remember that space and I thought that would be so cool to have a store there. And when I would talk to people, they'd say, Main Street has changed so much and there's no mom and pops, which come to be, there really are a lot of us down there. And so I called, actually tried to call Caldwell Banker. They didn't know who to call as the landlord because it's owned by NRT, which is huge. So then I wound up calling Tavern, which was above me, the restaurant, and I asked them, who's the landlord? And he put me in. He actually talked to me and said, you need to talk to this person to sublet because they're still renting it. And that's how it all started. And it was meant to be, because if it wasn't, I wouldn't be there.
Wow. It's a great space.
Thank you.
If people don't know, it is right under what used to be Tavern on Main.
Yes. It was a sea captain's home, actually.
Really?
Yes. And because it must have been that he wanted to see the river, I would think, because all of the Park Harding Plaza is fill. So I bet you back in the 1800s when it was built, it was probably he could see the river from his house. I'm in the cellar of what used to be the captain's home.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. So you mentioned that there are more mom and pops downtown than people realize.
Yes. And, that's the other thing. I think, downtown, people remember downtown the way it was years ago, and they'll say, oh, it's not the same. And you hear, but you know what? Nothing is the same. I actually, when people come in, they say, this reminds me of old downtown. I'm like, we're still here. We're here waiting for you. So, there's Kit Shapiro who lives in town. She has West. There's Julie Cook who runs Savannah B. She lives in town. Even if it's not a mom and pop store, it's employing Westporters. And, for example, Lululemon and Athleta, I don't know a woman in town who doesn't have something from one of those stores in their closet. So I think it makes a nice mix. And, it's growing. There's more leases being signed every day. I think the silver lining to COVID has been that people want to get back downtown and get to feel normal again. And what makes you feel more normal than your hometown downtown?
Who are your customers? Are they Westporters? Are they out-of-towners?
Well, it's funny you say that. When I first opened, I was really shocked by how little Westporter customers I had. I had, some old-timers that still came downtown, but for the majority, I thought I was going to get a lot of Westporters based on all the buzz I heard prior that they were dying for small stores. But people were really, I think, ordering online and then coming downtown to do exchanges. They might order from Vineyard Vines or J. Crew or whatever, and then if they need to exchange it, they'd come downtown to bring it back. But then I think what wound up happening is I started doing things downtown to get people to know we were there. I got on social media. Westport Front Porch was amazing. People were doing shout-outs. But moreover, I'd say the silver lining to COVID is that Westporters really realize to shop local is important, and each person matters. It's like if you come downtown, when people say, how's business? I say, have you been downtown? If you're shopping downtown, that's an indicator.
Uh-huh.
Because if you're shopping downtown, that means other people, your friends are probably shopping downtown. If you're not shopping downtown, that's an indicator too.
Wow.
So
we've got these 672 people who have moved into Westport since...
Awesome.
Yeah, since COVID. Westport has more people move in than any other town in the state.
I don't blame them.
Are they coming in?
Yes. So a lot of them are from New York or Manhattan, moreover, and they're used to walking and doing their shopping locally. So the first two places they're interested in is downtown and Campo Beach, and it's been amazing. As a matter of fact, I noticed, on the weekends we used to get a lot of traffic, but it was not Westporters, moreover, unless they had out-of-town guests, then they'd come downtown, but they weren't really doing their shopping on the weekends downtown. And in order for businesses, the reason you see so many businesses close is not just because the rents are too high, it's because they're not getting they need locals during the week. You need the locals to sustain you during the week. We're not a tourist destination. So who's going to support the businesses? The Westporters. And on the weekends, I used to get a lot of people from other places in Connecticut, or, for the colleges, parents come to visit their kids at Sacred Heart or Fairfield U. But now, after COVID, I have to say, I've seen so many Westporters. I had a woman yesterday who came in. This was pivotal for me. I have to share this. So it used to be when the Y was downtown, moms would come downtown, drop off their kid for dance or whatever, and then they'd go get a cup of coffee together, walk around, do some shopping, pick up their kid. Well, we were losing kind of that equation because the Y was gone. But what wound up happening is now that cafes like Gigi and Joe's has opened up, and more stores like mine have opened up, and places are filling up, and Sundance just opened, which is creating a lot of buzz. She came in yesterday and she said to me, I wanted to get 2 moms who run one of the sports at the schools gift certificates. I got one at Gigi and Joe's and one for Savvy and Grace. I figured the moms could come downtown, have coffee, come to Savvy and Grace and shop downtown. And I thought to myself, we're back.
Wow.
We're back. There's people who actually want to do this, that want to come downtown and hang out and shop and make it alive, because that's what we need. We have the ingredients for the best. We just need the people, so, and they're coming, and it's phenomenal.
You've had a lot to do with it. I mean, you're with the Westport Downtown Association.
Yes.
What are you doing? You say all we need are people. What's the association doing to get those people down there?
Right. So it's coming up, actually. We're having our downtown shopping days. They're doing a sidewalk sale. And in addition to that, they do the things that you don't even realize, such as, all the pretty flowers downtown that you just take for granted. There's people watering them every day. They're trying to keep up on the garbage and making sure that stays intact, which when it doesn't, I know you're very good at letting people know. But, it's a Herculean job, actually. And, the events are great, but I think just even the aesthetics, yes, we're blessed to have the river there and the buildings, and, it's a nice mix of different types of architecture. But moreover, there's benches, there's garbage pickup, there's the flowers, there's the little things that you take for granted. And I think that's the biggest thing, too, from COVID, that gratitude, right? That we realize we've taken so much for granted. And I think it's like a really great, fresh start to just really appreciate everything around us now.
How about big picture? I mean, people have been talking about, let's reclaim the river. Let's put a skating rink on Veterans Green.
Yeah.
Movie theater.
Right.
Kiosks and
right.
all that.
Right.
How do you think about, does downtown need a big redo or little tweaks or something in between?
I actually, this is my feeling on it. People talk about, and I've seen it on your blog too, where people talk they want to close Main Street like they've closed Church Street. Church Street is, really doing well for the restaurants. Query whether how well it's doing for the retail stores on Church Street. I don't know. I can tell you when we have events on Main Street and they close Main Street that it does not do well for my business. And it's just the numbers don't lie. I mean, it's just that is what it is. So I am not a big proponent of closing down Main Street at all. When I see that on your blog, I have to comment and say, I don't think that's a good idea. Yeah. Because I am trying to stay afloat as a business, as a mom and pop downtown, and that would really hurt my business. But at the same time, I do think, having certain times of years certain time of year in the nicer, either the fall or in the spring. Summer, it's really hard, I think, because people are going to the beach a lot or they're going away or camp. But if we did have some sort of, kiosks, I think that only adds. I just was talking to somebody who's opening up downtown, and she sells jewelry like I do, and we were trying to collaborate to do a pop-up together because we have to support each other, right? So I think I think the real key to this, if you want to, my opinion, is just community. If people realize it takes all these different things to make it work. We already have the storefronts. We just need to make sure they're filled. If they're filled, and then people will come. And then if people come, more people come. And then next thing you know, you have a bustling downtown. Do I think we need to close the street? No. An ice skating rink on Veterans Green, I think that would be pretty cool. I don't think there was talk about a playground downtown. I don't think that's a great idea, and I'll tell you why. We have playgrounds in town. In addition to that, as a mom, when I took my 2 young kids to the playground, they played. I was, watching them, making sure they don't get hurt. Then after they're tired, I got them in the car. They fell asleep with their little Cheerios and their sippy cups, and I took them home. I wasn't going shopping with 2 really tired, dirty kids. So I don't think that would necessarily I think that would take parking spots from people who actually want to come downtown and shop. So
let's talk about parking.
Yeah.
People, the rap has been the parking's in the wrong place or there's not enough or whatever.
Right. Well, Randy, the president of the Downtown Association, is actually, I guess, been nominated now by the selectmen to kind of rethink downtown, which he's aesthetically very talented, so I'm sure that's going to be part of his mission. But, there's a ton of parking that people just, I don't think, they don't think of it. If you go behind Paper Source, there's a ton of parking. There's behind Chase. There's, behind Serena and Lily. There's Parker Harding. There's so many places. And, yeah, it's not right there maybe where you want to go. But, and there's also an underground parking at Bedford Square. But I don't understand why people don't want to walk. If they're in Manhattan, they don't mind walking. You can't get into it. Before COVID, you couldn't get into a bar class or a private trainer class. So I'd say, you know what, maybe now after COVID, people don't mind walking so much. Yeah. And maybe they'll like the fact that they have to park a block from where they want to go. I don't know.
You mentioned Church Street.
Yeah.
Is there, Church Lane, is it part of downtown? Is it, is there a community there, or is it a separate area?
I think for Westporters, it's definitely part of downtown. I think for outsiders, they don't realize it's there necessarily. I've told people I happen to love Savannah Bee, I happen to love Julie, and so I always tell people when they ask me what stores, is there other stores like you? They'll say to me, or, and I'll say, well, you have to go here. That's what actually prompted me to put a map on my building. Because people don't even know where. And actually, I just took a picture of a woman taking a picture of my map on my building because people don't know where things are. But I do think it is a part of downtown for sure. And I think that a lot of people are loving the outdoor vibe with the restaurants and everything. I think, there's more restaurants coming in, period. There's 2 coming into Main Street, I believe. And I think that's going to change the vibe on Main Street as well, that we needed that. Onion Alley is greatly missed. Yeah. We also, we do have, I wanted to say Oscars, but we have Rye Ridge and Gigi and Joe's, and Cold Fusion's going to be opening up. That's another Westport family. They already have a location in Rhode Island and Newport. They manufacture it. They do 30 flavors of sorbet, even chocolate. And there's a lot of people who are non-dairy people in this town, so I think they're going to knock it out of the park. I'm really excited for them.
Wow. What's the one thing it needs besides people? The one thing that downtown needs.
I think downtown is getting the people. I think it just needs. I actually think there's a lot of great things. We're putting up cafe lights, which was something that big passion for me that I've been talking about for a long time. So it's already on Church Street. It's going to be happening on Main Street. And I have to say that I think if people just keep coming downtown, it's all going to work out. Because, for example, when I put up the Christmas tree during COVID, I was incorporating it with a charity, and I was putting ornaments with people's names on the tree. And I had the cafe lights above my store, and there was a snow on the ground that hadn't turned gray. And somebody that I know came up to me, started talking. Then next thing you know, other people were walking by, started talking. And I felt like I was in a Hallmark movie. And I think the reason why people are moving to Westport is because that is what Westport is like. It's like something that you don't think really exists, but it does, and it's right here. And once you get a taste of it, you just are so enamored that you're hooked, And speaking of which, the restaurant down at Campo, Hooked, is awesome too. I went there, it was great. I think we all just need to support each other, and I think that's really all we need. If we just, Westport is a small town with a big heart, and if we all just support each other and know that be conscious of each other, we can do anything.
And you've done a lot of work with nonprofits and charities.
I try. If somebody comes to me with a charity, I'm in. I feel very blessed. I feel very lucky, and I can't say no. Wow. Don't tell my husband that, because he'll tell you I could. But
what are some of your favorites?
Shatterproof is one that I did right before we closed. That's something close to me because there is a lot of opioid addiction out there, and my family's no exception. My mom became addicted to opioids from a car accident, and I lost her. Wow. So that's something that really hits home for me. But I'm also a person who has 2 rescue dogs, so animal rescues hit for me. But I'm looking forward to more charities. The last one that I did was during COVID. I incorporated for the Rafola charity out of Bridgeport, which helps inner city kids get presents for their families. So we did that. Kids are another thing. I mean, I'm basically kids, animals, family. So, even when they had a wear, I didn't have it at my store, but I was, I couldn't wait to go. I went into that crazy, exhibit right before everything got shut down because I want to just support where I can.
Yeah. It seems like that's sort of the attitude that people remember from Westport. Very involved with different things, a real community feel. And I think that some of the rap on downtown has been that out-of-town landlords and chain stores.
In-town landlords too, by the way.
No, I'm saying that they haven't participated as much.
Well,
do you think that's true?
I think this is it. On the board, there's a lot of landlords actually. Obviously they have a financial interest, so they do care what's going on downtown. I think that in years past, when things looked really good, they didn't have a real pulse on what people can afford. They just knew that people, they promise you're going to do, X million a year. And a small person like me says, oh, wow, okay, where can I sign? And then you get there and you're twiddling your thumbs and you're wondering, where are the X million sales that I'm supposed to have? So I think that kind of happened. I think they learned about that. And I do think now they're coming back down, local and non-local landlords. I still think it needs more tweaking, because if they were actually retailers or business people other than landlords, they would realize that, you need to do the math. And if you can only do X amount per year, you have to be able to afford your rent. So I think, moreover, most of the landlords are realizing that. I think as long as they can find a big conglomerate to sign a lease for an expensive amount of money, you're not going to see the rents come down. And, they might do that, but query whether when their lease becomes expired, are they going to renew? Yeah. That's interesting. It's interesting. We'll see.
One other downtown question. People have talked about more of a mix. Maybe have medical offices, maybe have
dance studio,
more residential dance studio,
yes,
offices for nonprofits.
Yes.
Would
well,
that make sense?
There is office space already above, like, say, Brooks Corner. There's office space. There above the deli. There's office space. I think if we had things that brought kids downtown, moreover, I know they did open up a tutoring place over above in Brooks Corner. But, if we did have, I think, more kid-type things, it definitely would help. And, the more people downtown, the better. If you're dropping your kid off for tutoring, or you're dropping your kid off for taekwondo or dance, do you really want to go home and then have to come back to get them? You're going to park your car and you're going to walk around. And, to me, once you start walking around, it just feels so good. I love downtown. You can tell. I love downtown.
Yeah. And you love Westport. You bought a house. Westport. You bought a house here.
I did buy a house here. I'm not living here, though.
Not just any house, but one of the most visible and historic houses in Westport.
Yes. Well, it needs some love, and I'm a bleeding heart. So, yes. And it has a barn, a very cool antique barn, which is, I could envision being, savvy offices one day for my basket business, That's the other thing about COVID. It made me adapt, right? Because we had to be closed for 4 months. So did all the businesses, right? So that's when I really realized my love for downtown, actually, because when you have to be closed for 4 months, you start questioning everything. Am I meant to be here? Is it worth it? what would happen if I closed? How should I close? What would be the way I would do it? How would I do a going out of business sale in a pandemic? Like, how does this work? And so I'm a person of a lot of faith, and I kept trying to figure it out. And I realized I just love it here. I don't want to give up. I'm not giving up. And it actually made me stronger and think I'll do whatever. And that's when I said, I'm going to do Easter baskets. Amazon doesn't think it's essential, but I do. I'm a mom. So that's when we put out the APB. Hey, we're doing Easter baskets if you need it. And I was so touched by all the moms that reached out and put in orders. And then after that, they called me up. You did such a great job on the Easter baskets. Could you do a Welcome to Westport basket? Could you do a Feel Better basket? Could you do, and then at Christmas time, this is what I said. I said, please, God, give me a sign if I'm meant to be here, you know? And at Christmas time, it was my 4th Christmas, this past Christmas, during a pandemic, we had our best Christmas ever. And I said, that's my sign.
Wow.
I'm staying. And I'll do baskets. I'll basically do whatever it takes. I will do curbside. I will do whatever. And I love doing baskets. So maybe my barn will become the basket warehouse for Savvy and Grace one day, maybe.
Have you been hurt by Amazon?
Absolutely. I think every retailer has been hurt by Amazon. It in a way, I think people really, if they did their research on that company, they would be really shocked to know it's a little bit of nefarious company. But that being said, you know what? It forces you to be better. It forces you to offer something they can't, even though they're trying to do everything now. You know, even the supermarkets are going to be affected by Amazon. So if they decide they want to go after your business, they will. My question is, why aren't they going after him the way they went after Bill Gates in the 80s for some monopoly type thing? Because he can go after anything and get away with it. If he decides he wants to go after your business, he can, completely go after it. So I just hope I keep my little niche here with my community, and that people want baskets and want things last minute. When somebody says, I'll say, when are you giving the gift? They'll say, in an hour. And I say, oh my gosh, thank you. I'm so glad you waited, knowing that I would be here for you. I'm so happy. So I'm thankful for last minute procrastinators. I keep at it. Don't worry about, being on time and thinking ahead. I got you. And, as far as Amazon goes, we'll see what happens, I'm more the type of person, I look in my own backyard versus what they're doing. So I want to just keep the people that come into my store happy and wanting to come back. And that's the other reason I named it Savvy too. I made sure my prices are the same as online or less. And I am 9 times out of 10 less than Amazon. Amazon's always higher. Their big thing is that they can deliver very quickly, but they are not cheaper. Except for on books. On books they are. But other than that, they're really not. So that's a good thing too.
And they have, they're not going to, if somebody's looking for Westport themed merchandise.
Right. I just did a whole wall in my store. Literally, it's all Westport merchandise or Connecticut merchandise. It's amazing. I actually have to put it on my that's the other thing from COVID. I started my Instagram really ramping it up, and my Facebook, and it works. People see whatever you post on Instagram, and then they call up and they say, you just posted about, a map of Westport throw blanket or a serving tray that had, the nautical chart, or, and we wind up selling it. So it can't be discounted how much that helps, because I actually hate social media. Personally, you won't find me on there. You only find Savvy and Grace on there. You don't find Annette Norton on there. And I always am really, diligent about checking my children. You're not going to find me I even got a Snapchat thing for the store, where my logo would come up if somebody wanted to take a picture and put it on. And then I said, I just can't do this anymore. I can't stand the Snapchatting. I can't. But it's part of today's world, so we have to embrace it, I guess, to some degree. I don't know. If you see me doing a TikTok, then you know I've lost it.
TikTok is where it is.
Yeah.
So where do all these ideas come from? Do you just...
I wake up in the middle of the
head?
night. Yes, I wake up in the middle of the night. I actually also, when people say, how did you think to bring this in or bring that in? Whenever I've traveled and I see something cool, I buy it and then I have it in my closet. So when I first opened, I really was able to pick literally things that nobody else had around here because I had them in my closet from different things, and I was hoping people would like them too. I do. I guess I have the same taste as a lot of people, and I spend a lot of time in Rhode Island and Newport, and it's another area by the water, and I love being by the water. I love being next to positive people, which is us right now, and I love people, I guess, so it's a labor of love for sure. I mean, when people come in, even before COVID, when it rained, I had customers calling me, were you okay? It flooded downtown. I mean, where else do you get that? I mean, I remember it was close to Christmas, and I carry a lot of UGG in my store, like cozy blankets and robes and slippers and sweaters, and I called them up, and the rep said, "Oh, how are you doing?" I said, "I'm doing great. How are you?" And she said, "Are you kidding? Or are you serious?" I said, "I'm serious. I'm doing great. How are you?" And she goes, I'm taken back that you're saying that because we have stores canceling their orders. People are closing up. They're going out of business." I said, "Well, they don't have a store in Westport, Connecticut."
Wow. That is a great last line. Anything I should have asked that I didn't? Any message you want to get out there to?
I guess one message I would say is if you're watching this, just know you matter. You count. You coming downtown means something definitely to me and the other stores downtown. We love seeing locals downtown. We need you, and you matter to us. So, and I hope we matter to you too. So that's it.
I think it's pretty clear that you do. So, Annette Norton, the owner of Savvy and Grace and one of downtown's biggest boosters, thank you very much for letting us sort of see behind the Main Street curtain.
Oh, you're so cute. Thank you more for having me.
You bet.